In this tiny little village we have found a Peugeot 403. This is only the second 2CV we've seen here actually. The other one was just around the corner. Look at this wonderful Citroen Lorry. I'm sure it's a Citroen. And here we are inside. You can even have your own flight in your own little balloon. There can't be too many of those in France, surely, where you see the ramp. Here we go, a bit of classic lorry content. This is a GMC from about 1943 or 44. Well, welcome to the Old Classic Car channel, or today it should be Old Classic Ferry. We're on a bit of a road trip, a mini break over to France. We're just leaving Poole, which is over there somewhere, I think. It's about a 4.5 hour trip down to Cherbourg, and we're going to spend a few days roaming around France. It's been a bit of a damp old day, but yeah, we'll see what we can see once we get over to, hopefully, slightly sunnier France than we are currently here, just off the coast at Poole. It's quite a nice little place over there. So it won't just be cars in this video, but hopefully we'll find some car content in our few days over in France. It's half term at the moment, Harley's off school, so we thought what a great opportunity it is just to nip across the channel and go and see what we can find over there, just to sort of round off the year, a year that we've been to many shows and so on, done many videos about the shows, but we thought this might just be a little bit different. So I think it's going to start raining again. There's a bit of a leakage going on from the lifeboats up here. This is the Barfleur. We've gone on a Brittany Ferries vessel. All very smooth so far. There we go, there's the lifeboats up there. When we got here it was pitch dark, thunder, lightning, absolutely chucking it down. There's a bit of a struggle to even find where we were meant to be going, but that's all behind us now. So we've got another 4 hours on this boat, and then we'll get off at Cherbourg. The place we're staying at, the Airbnb, is only a couple of miles from the docks at Cherbourg, so hopefully that won't be too difficult to find. Yeah, there's a lot of weather out there probably coming our way. You a bit damp?
No.
Sorry, pardon?
No, monsieur. Je suis pas wet.
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 Ooh, beetle. Right, we'll go find our car and get off the Barfleur. Well, afternoon folks, we are somewhere in northeastern France. Not quite sure where we are, but there is a very good reason for us stopping close to this marina. Not for this yellow Iveco turbo daily van. There's an Ivio, yes, well spotted, but oops, it's a little windy. In this tiny little village we have found a Peugeot 403. How cool is that? That is great, isn't it? I've always liked the 403s, the estates, the pickups and the saloon. Great colour as well. What we have noticed in our first day here in sunny France are how many Peugeot 205s, Renault 5s. We saw a Renault 4, didn't we?
Peugeot.
Yeah.
French.
Yeah. Yeah, we spotted the Renault 4, didn't we? But this Peugeot, that is just great, isn't it? I love the rack on top of the dashboard.
It's like a French Amazon, really, isn't it?
It's very Amazon shape, and they used to have a roof rack on it as well, looking at the little holes in the roof.
got the little weights for the wheels and that.
Oh, the old lead weights on the wheels.
So yeah, I'm turning it to you.
Yes. So yes, this is a Peugeot 403. This was a very popular car back in the 1950s here in sunny or slightly rainy France, as it is.
J'adore voir les voitures.
Getting a bit wet. Beaucoup de pluie. But
Il pleut.
il pleut, correct. Anyway, that's the little Peugeot, so we're going to carry on. It's a nice badge, isn't it?
Got a few flies on the front, but that doesn't detract from how lovely this is.
It is a beautiful old car, isn't it? It's in great condition. I love the colour of it. And the sun's come out. The sun's coming out for Les Anglais. Anyway, let's carry on our little trip, exploring some of the more remote corners of France, just for a few days here, and then let's see what else we can find. I don't see too many of these Renault 9s in the UK either, and this is a very clean car. It says turbo on the back, but did they do a turbo one of these? It's got fancy wheels and a spoiler. By the way, it's quite a cool Survivor. The voiture de l'année in 1982. Let's have a quick look along here. Got those wind deflectors. It's got headlamp wipers. Yeah, it's quite a posh one, isn't it? 5-speed gearbox. Harley spotted this one as we were driving along, so I had to go and turn around several roundabouts and head back just to have a quick look. There's a couple of interesting French little cars. You still see plenty of these Renault Twingos around. They must be getting on a bit now, 20 years old I'm sure. So that's sort of the French mini car of 20 odd years ago, and here is its younger equivalent. This is the new Citroen Ami, or Ami, little electric car, or technically I don't think it's a car, isn't it, a quadricycle or something like that. But yeah, this is the first one of these I've seen, so that's quite neat. And it's in its home country as well. There we go, Citroen Ami, 100% electric. Quite a neat little car. I certainly think there's little electric cars like this make a lot of sense in town centres, city centres, etc. As I may have said, we're in the centre of Cherbourg at the moment. The weather is typically Anglaise, but never mind. We're going to have a quick walk around and see what else we can spot that looks interesting. Over here we've got an old photography shop. Look at that. So much of France has not really been spoilt by modern commercialism. Over here, the magnificent vessel, the Roald Amundsen from Eckenforde. Several interesting old boats here. Bit of work going on this one, bit of rigging. Try not to walk into the water myself. Clearly the more interesting vessels end up mooring, as I believe it's called, in this area. Again, lovely woodwork in evidence. And as ever, the English weather seems to be following us everywhere we go. Still, never mind. Umbrella shop and factory seems appropriate today. Clearly Smurfs are still a thing here in France. Today we are in Arromanches to come and have a look at the remains of the old Mulberry Harbour, and there is a French registered 2CV. Yeah, so this is Arromanches, where one of two planned floating harbours were installed, and here's part of it, part of the Mulberry Harbour. A huge construction. These were dragged across the channel. June 1944. Quite a construction this is. This one's showing the effect of being in the salty air, but there are at least one or two other sections of this harbour further up the road which are in much better condition than this one. You can still see the remains of the old floating harbour here. We've got lumps of concrete and metal still dotted around. There are very famous photographs of the bay here. You can see the rocky outcrop in the background over there. You see that in so many photographs of this installation. Up here we've got a World War II Sherman Tank. The plaque on the side tells us who the crew were. Is that the date? March 1943, this casting? It could well be. Got a different casting date on this side. Looks like 1242, so December 1942 on this part here. Something else 42, a little bit corroded and painted over. This one I think is July 1941. Nothing there. So we've got a variety of bits and pieces of different dates, which I guess you'd expect. Yeah, an old Sherman tank. What a great bullet holes. Oh, it could be, or just heavy rot. But an incredible bit of kit. In a pretty amazing location, overlooking the bay here at Arromanches. This wasn't going to be a tourist video, but kind of all relates to transport in one way or another. The old Mulberry Harbour, that would have been going out there. There'd have been various, so much going on out there. Hundreds of lorries, jeeps, half tracks, the DUKWs, the duck, amphibious vehicles, all sorts of things came onto shore here and then pushed down and up towards Cherbourg as well. Just on this side street here, just around the corner from the museum, it's a British registered 2CV Dolly. This is only the second 2CV we've seen here. Actually, the other one was just around the corner.
We did see a Diane.
That was a Diane, but this is a 2CV and a British registered, I think. Yeah, it's right-hand drive, isn't it? We did actually pass a sign on the building which seemed to imply that they actually hired out 2CVs for tourists. This is the first 2CV we've seen on the road anywhere in France, and it's a British registered one. I wasn't expecting that. But this garage has got a few stories to tell. It is a bit haphazard, this video, but literally I'm just sort of recording interesting things as we walk around different places. Nothing much old inside, but it's clearly been there a long time. And next door, a military antiques centre. Ooh, what do we have here? Massey Ferguson tractor, still earning its keep a long way from home, but heavens, look at that. Looks like it's used for dragging boat trailer in and out of the drink. Massey Ferguson 122. Yeah, I can't imagine all this salty water does it any favours. It looks very original though. Yes. Well, still working for a living. Excellent. What tyres do we have on it? Firestone. And parked at the side of the road is this wonderful 1942 Jeep. We've just been speaking to the owner. He was kind enough to let us have a quick walk around and do a video. Absolutely wonderful. So this is authentic to how the Jeeps would have looked in this area in 1944. But that is just fantastic. What a beautiful vehicle. An incredible setting. I mean, these places just haven't changed at all. That is just wonderful. I love the shell dressings here on the side. The rifle, even an umbrella. We needed a parapluie yesterday. Got ammo cases, 1943. I'm going to get knocked over by a Dutch registered Volvo, I think. But yeah, wonderful old ammo cases on here. That's great to see that. I was only saying to Harley before how wonderful it would be to drive around in an old Jeep. We've got a petrol can on the side here. Yeah, that is fantastic. Well, we were driving along and we had to do a quick U-turn at the roundabout just behind us because look at this wonderful Citroen Lorry. I'm sure it's a Citroen. Harley spotted it, I didn't see it. But I'm pretty sure, yep, there's a Citroen. Wow, what a cracker that is. It's amazing what you spot. We've only been here a couple of days and we've seen so many interesting things just by driving around and keeping our eyes peeled. But that's a wonderful old promotional lorry, left-hand drive. So what date is that then? Is that what, 1950s, 1960s, something like that? It could even be a little bit later than that, but what a Bobby Dazzler that is. If anyone knows what the French for Bobby Dazzler is, please let me know, but that certainly is it. What a great old truck. Just walking along a typical French street and it's amazing what you find. No, not that. But up on the wall here we have a wonderful old painted sign for Total or Total. Some yobbos desecrated it with his vandalism and graffiti, but you can still make out what it said on there. I wonder how long that's been up there. But yeah, you see a lot of these old painted signs still on the end of buildings here in France. So that's a treat to spot that one just around the corner from where we're staying at the moment. Well, morning folks, it's a fresh day and we're still in northern France and we're on the hunt for the V1 launch site, which is just over there. We're going to see if we can get a better view. We're parked down there, but we just had to come and have a look at this concrete reinforced building here, which we passed on the way in. There's these, I mean obviously the Germans occupied France for a long time, and there's all over the countryside there are these big old decaying concrete buildings, bit of an eyesore in a way, but fascinating in another way. Now, there were a number of V1 launch sites built in this neck of the woods. We're in Normandy. And there's something over there, there's a big reinforced block slowly being consumed by the undergrowth. But over the back there, that is, or rather was going to be, V1 launch sites. The V1, of course, was the Doodlebug, one of Hitler's weapons to be used against Britain in the Second World War. And reading up on it, this one was built in 1943. Apparently, there's another building just along here, main road. There's a little bit on the muddy side, so I'm just traipsing along the grass. We've got another building through there. I don't think we can actually get in. The gate appears to be locked, but we can certainly peek over the hedge. I know that this V1 launch site, which is just over there, I think that building at the back was part of it. This particular V1 launch site was built, like I say, in 1943, and they were fairly primitive. They were rocket powered, but they didn't. I don't think they had any guidance. We've got more concrete here. I don't think they had their own guidance system, so the ramps had to be built pointing in the direction of the town or city that the V1s were going to be launched at, and this one was aimed at Bristol, which I think is about 230 kilometres away, I read somewhere. But fortunately, it was never used, because in 1944 we had D-Day, and this area of land soon came under Allied control. So this particular launch ramp aimed at Bristol was never actually used, fortunately. But the remains of the old buildings still survive here. And there is another V1 launch site somewhere around here, which we're going to see if we can find as well. But it's just fascinating to see these old concrete ruins still here after all these years. Obviously their original intention was pretty sinister. Unfortunately, this was never actually put into operation. But a fascinating reminder of what happened not that long ago. You can just imagine them whistling away over the top of that building, whistling over the channel and landing in Bristol. Like I say, they weren't directional, so you had to aim them in the direction you wanted them to go, and they flew for as long as they had fuel, and the fuel cut out, so you'd hear them flying over, a very distinctive sound, the V1s. You'd hear them fly over, and then the sound will cut out, and that's when you knew that they were entering their dive, and they just landed wherever they wanted. It's totally indiscriminate, really. The V2s were much more technologically capable, but the V1s were less so. Unfortunately, we're not allowed in. Oh no! Random bits of destroyed concrete just across the road here in the trees. We won't venture any further because we've got a fence here, so we're not going to be naughty. But yeah, just odd random constructions everywhere you look in this neck of the woods. You can see over there a bit more. But it's this era of history that I find really interesting, this sort of modernish history. You know, there'll still be people around. I try not to break my neck. There'll still be people around that just about remember when these places were active. You know, young kids that were around that point will be getting on a bit now, but I'm sure there's still a few of them around. I didn't really realise this was even here. I just happened to be looking on Google Maps, and it popped up as a local attraction, I suppose you'd call it. Eh? A bit more concrete over here, is there? Oh yeah, it's like a... Oh, don't go too far because it might drop in. Yeah, there's some building under there, isn't there? It's probably some sentry point or lookout or gun emplacement. Yeah, pretty scary times. Right, let's head off and see if we can find the other V1 launch site, vaguely transport related. If you've made it this far in the video, thanks very much for sticking with it. It's all a bit of a hodgepodge of different things that we've seen over the few days that we are here in France. But hopefully a few of you will find it interesting. Well, we've just turned round here, a little bit further down the road, just from over there where the building is. And there's another concrete blockhouse here. Wow. Everywhere you go around here there are just signs of the Second World War. Absolutely incredible. If you like rooting around, northern France is a fascinating place. Now I don't think we'll go in there because it looks a bit precarious, and it is on, you know, it belongs to somebody, so we won't go in there. But, you know, where's Harley disappeared to? He's got a taste for crawling around crumbling old buildings. Where are you going? Is there something else you can see? Is there something else you can see?
I think it should be inside of it. If I wasn't wearing these trousers, I'd go and have a look.
Yeah, it's a bit brambly, isn't it? You don't know what's in there, but yeah, fascinating stuff. Bonjour. That is just an outbuilding there. Can you see that? There is the ramp itself. I didn't know it was still here. Wow. I'll give Harley a shout. I thought maybe the ramp itself had been dismantled, but no. That would have been the V1 ramp pointing straight at Bristol. Right, now we will go and see if we can find the other V1 launch ramp. If you're interested where this is, we are just on the D56. So there's the N13, D56. And that's the road name there. On the way to that village there. So we are somewhere around here. It is actually called the Mesnil-Oval V1 launch site. It's just off here. It's probably that little white road there on the D56. And here we've got a Renault 4, Les Tariq du Désert, a Renault 4 trophy. Yeah, that looks like it's used for various rallies or something like that, doesn't it? Citroen Visa 75 is Paris registered. Plenty of mud after visiting interesting places. And now we are near a little village called Hardevast. Apologies for my pronunciation. You can always tell these sort of reinforced roads are usually a good giveaway that you're somewhere interesting. There's a big concrete blockhouse behind there. And this again is the site of what was going to be another V1 launch pad aimed at Bristol. They didn't seem to like Bristol very much, the Germans, when they were based around here anyway. But I'm sure there were lots of sites like this set up in the Second World War. Some were used, others were not. Unfortunately, this is another example of one that was not. But again, we can't actually get in because there's a lock on the gate. But never mind, because over there, I think that is probably part of it. It's amazing how you actually really have to go looking for these places, because you could live here for years, and unless someone told you, you just wouldn't know that what you're looking at there is part of what would have been a doodlebug launch facility in the Second World War. It really pays to just go off the beaten track, do a bit of research, Google Maps is your friend. That's how we found this place, and just go and have a bit of a route round. Again, you can see the concrete reinforced pathway, which they usually go hand in hand with any sort of military installation. I'm sure if you flew an aeroplane around here, you'd spot all sorts of really heavy duty concrete works just being left to rack and ruin in the area. Anyway, I'm glad we found those two V1 sites. I know the link to transport is a little bit tenuous, which is the subject of the channel, of course, but it is transport, kind of, isn't it? And hopefully it is a bit tenuous, isn't it? But hopefully it was of interest. Right, I think Mrs. OCC has probably enjoyed her visit to all these V1 launch sites. Well, she's certainly keeping very quiet, so she's keeping her excitement well muted today. So we'll go and find somewhere a little bit more touristy, I think. But anyway, onwards and upwards, and let's see what else we can find here on our brief visit to sunny France. And just for the record, we are here, Hardinvest. We've come along the D152, which is somewhere around here, just before the main D900, which is there, the yellow one. So Hardinvest. We drove through the little village of Hardinvest, took a right, and it's more or less where the word park that is there in red. That's where we are. I'm just going to have a quick walk up the lane here because I'm informed there may be another little building, a little concrete building just up here on the left. So
anonymous source.
An anonymous source, yes, told us that there could be another building up here, and where there's one building there are usually two or three more. Not a bad view. We're still on concrete reinforced road. Yeah, we're still on the concrete reinforced roads, which suggests that it was designed with heavy lorries in mind. There's a big farm building there. Oh yeah, there's something here. Well, there was something here. Oh, what's this? Wow. Another blast-proof building. Many tyres everywhere. Yeah, well, don't clamber on top of that. Wow. Lots of pneu, some electrical, yeah, it's a bit newer, that gear on the wall, isn't it? And some of these tyres have been there a long time, but I don't think any of them are military. No, they're all radials, I'm afraid. Yes. Yeah. Oh. Still clinging on in there, this old wooden door. Someone's clearly forced their way in at some point and bent these door bars back, but that wasn't us.
Makes it easier for us.
Bit of age to that. Don't build them like they used to. The launch pad itself is just, I mean, there's some sort of raised concrete thing there, but the other side of these modern farm buildings. And this water tower has been built on a convenient piece of concrete as well, which I'm guessing is somewhat older than what's on top of it now. But yeah, just in the trees here next to the road. Mon Dieu. Hey? It goes all the way, it's really set into the bank, isn't it? Today we are in Saint-Mère-Église. This is a very famous little town, made famous by the American Airborne paratroopers coming in here, and in particular the one chap who found himself hanging from his parachute at the top of the church here, and that is celebrated by the little mannequin that's hanging off the corner up there. He spent quite a bit of time up there pretending to be dead so that the Germans, who of course occupied the whole town and the whole area at the time, they didn't sort of take any pot shots at him, and he did survive, I believe, but I will check up on that. But yeah, this is a very famous church in Saint-Mère-Église. We're going to have a quick mooch around and then visit the Airborne Museum. If there's anything relevant to the video and the channel, I will of course take some footage, but yeah, I just wanted to show this place quickly because it's a very well-known landmark, and the chap up there is probably the best known paratrooper of all from the Second World War. I spy a Renault 4. Okay, well, we've come into the museum now, and the first thing that we clap eyes on is an M4 Sherman Tank. This one from 1943, produced by the Chrysler Tank Arsenal from Detroit.
There's a certain order to follow.
In the first building here we've got a Wacko Glider. This is a restored glider. These would have been towed over with C47s, and this is the only complete surviving example of one of these gliders. Obviously they only used once, towed them over the channel, let go of the cable, and they would glide down to their intended destination, hopefully. End up being dumped in a field somewhere, and that was it. Single use aircraft. One of several Jeeps we've seen around here. Here we go, a bit of classic lorry content. This is a GMC from about 1943 or 44. Got twin axles at the back there. This is a 353. I think there are a couple of different versions of this, and various different rear bodies were fitted to these, but this is a lovely example here. What a beauty. Have a quick look inside. We can peer in through the window. Surprisingly, I've seen several of these wartime trucks at the side of the road with signs advertising or D-Day related museums. At least this one is under a canopy, so it's saved from the worst of the elements. Yeah, that's a beauty, that is. In the corner of one of the exhibit buildings here in St Mary Glees, we've got a wonderful Dodge truck. Someone will know exactly what body that is. Obviously ambulance body. Is this a WC51 or a 53? I don't quite know. I'd guess it a 51, but you know, someone will tell me. There's a yeah. It's nice to see an old Dodge here. Over here we've got a Cushman Airborne. These were parachuted out of aircraft over enemy lines and accompanied the parachutists, paratroopers down to the ground, and essential for getting around, especially on rough country, rough terrain. You've got very thick, very deep sidewall tyres on this particular one. Still got the original Cushman tyres on it. This C47, the military version of the Dakota DC-3, was actually used during the invasion here. I've got some video footage here of the C47 that's on display next to us. It's been here since the early 1980s. I'm hoping they'll show the footage of it being brought in underneath a Chinook. Here it is being transported slightly precariously under a Chinook. I assume they picked a fairly unwindy day. Well, that's our quick visit to the Airborne Museum here at St Mary Glees. There's a very famous church just in the background there. So I think we'll go and grab a bite to eat and then carry on our hunt to see what else we can find that's interesting and vaguely related to the channel here in Normandy. And tucked away over here we've got our first Simca of the trip. Wow. Talbot Simca TI, no less. Got some really smart alley wheels and a very jazzy metallic paint job. I've not seen any Simcas yet, so that's a first for this little mini break. Well, what's a Simca TI? Is that fuel injected? Could it be? Either way, it's a proper rare survivor. I'm really pleased we stopped to see that one. Well, our last visit of this mini break, probably because we go home tomorrow, is this wonderful concrete airship hangar. This dates, I think, to about 1917 or 1919. But what an incredible building that is. You can go inside it. Apparently it's like a cathedral inside. So we're going to have a good poke around there and see exactly what we can find in there. It's had all sorts of uses over the years, from the First World War, Second World War, and during the Cold War. It still had a use, apparently. Hopefully we'll find out a little bit more inside, both in there and also in this little museum, which I think is in the building here. So that looks quite exciting. While we wait for the little museum here to open, it opens in about 20 minutes time. We've got a bit of an information board here. Built between 1917 and 1919 by the French Navy, and during the First World War this hangar housed airships whose mission was to search for the German submarines in the Channel. Between the two wars, the hangar is still used by the French Navy, but as a coastal mobile artillery school before being occupied by the Germans and the TOT organisation from 1941. In June 1944 it was the first rampart during the Battle of Montauban, and then it'll serve as a gigantic repair and logistics workshop for the American HAM companies. Wow. Just look at all those GMCs. It served for the CEA, French Atomic Research Service, during the 1960s and remained a naval military field until 2000. This impressive building, more than 30 metres high and unique in the world, will be listed as a historic monument in 2003. The museum will tell you about this century of the hangar through all periods of the life of this concrete cathedral, and will of course allow you to visit the building. I'm certainly looking forward to having a look in there. Wow. There appears to be a concert going on inside. I can hear music emanating from its concrete walls. Alongside this mighty hangar we even have a froggery. The green frog is a vertebrate animal and also an amphibian. They're obviously using these water tanks here for the purposes of allowing frogs to breed. We're just in the building alongside the main hangar now, and there's a GMC here, but I've never seen one with twin front wheels, obviously for traction. You've got many wheels and tyres at the back, as you'd expect. And this was a storage yard for GMC's Jimmies, just like this in the Second World War. But I've never seen a twin setup on the front like that. Over here we've got a 1915 Latil truck. This is a fantastic bit of kit. Like I say, 1915, so it just about predates this place. Solid rubber tyres, no pneumatics yet. What an incredible machine this is. Our TAR, Rolling Artillery Tractor, was produced by the company Latil, factories of Citroen, for the French Army from 1915 until 1934. What an incredible thing that is. 7.5 litres, 4-speed gearbox. Rear wheel drive, brakes, is that optional at the front? I'm not quite sure, but yeah, this is an incredible old girl, this is. Not much in the way of controls in this particular lorry. Nor weather protection. Just a single lamp, a acetylene lamp, made by Ducellier. Well, here in a separate museum building we've got a bit of a history of aviation in this particular area, the Cotentin area. Many images of wonderful old flying machines, the Farman, I saw Breguet, I think it was, somewhere. We've got the Wright brothers here. Wilbur Wright over Tissandier. February 1909. Certainly looks like a very promising museum. It's not just about airships. We've got all sorts of transport-related memorabilia in this place. Submarines in this case. Wow, look at these. Some of these have got some age to them. It's quite an old school feel to this museum. There's nothing wrong with that. Avion. So, qu'est-ce que c'est? A Santos Dumont. Demoiselle. And here we've got some photos of the construction of the hangar between 1917, try not get my shadow in the way, 1917 and 1918. So you can see how the framework was built in sections and then presumably clad with the concrete. Here we go, we've got an animated version of those photos there. So I guess they could have just built it to any width they want. Apparently the Germans, when they were here, they actually left the doors open during a violent storm, and that is how the main doors that slid across got damaged, and they were taken down altogether then, and it remained open to the elements until 1953, and I think that's when it was all blocked off, which is how it is today. There it is in 1944. We parked somewhere, actually we parked about here. The scale of this place is really, really impressive. Well, the sun's out now, it's getting nice and warm, so let's go and walk down this path and have a look in the main hangar itself. Have a proper closer look at this incredible structure. So in 1944, as we saw on some of the pictures in there, this place was just rammed with hundreds, if not thousands, of American trucks. GMCs, Dodges, Chevrolets, all sorts were serviced and maintained in the building there and stored out here. You'd never know it now. Down here, in front of the main building, where the huge doors would have been, are the rails. And the rails, the bogies, would have run along here to allow the doors to slide open and closed. And over on the other side we've got another set of rails here, and the rusting remains of one of the 8 sets of bogies that were used in order to enable the doors to be opened and closed. It's amazing any of that survived at all, to be honest. It's looking pretty battered, but you know, it's over 100 years old now and it's been outside in all weathers, so it's amazing it's still here at all. But this place, it's just an incredible place, really. Just imagine the excitement, the cutting edge technology of building airships in sort of 1917, 1918 here, launching them for the first time, flying in them for the first time. What an incredible place this is. And here we are inside. You can even have your own flight in your own little balloon. By heck. How wild is that? That must be a bit of a giggle. What an amazing building. So this is where the original doors would have been. Obviously we've got some fairly small sliding doors now. But at one time it would have gone right up to the top almost. It's a cathedral of concrete. Well, if you think you've flown everything, I bet you haven't flown one of those, or flown in one of those. What an amazing place this is. I'm so glad we found time to come here on the way back from St Mary Glees. This is just off the N13. There are signposts, but it's not a very well known attraction in the area because D-Day tends to sort of dominate most of the museums because there are so many D-Day museums. This would have been such a hive of activity 80, 100 years ago. There's quite a set of ladders there to climb right up to the top. Not sure I'd have fancied that myself. Of course, back in the UK we've got the Cardington sheds, which I believe are still there. I keep reading about local housing developments that are sort of encroaching on the land that the Cardington sheds sit on, but as far as I know the sheds themselves are still there, and I've not read anything to say they're going to be gone anytime soon, but I do feel that a visit maybe to those sheds, which are largely the equivalent of this perhaps, but back home, probably definitely worth a visit. Okay, who's good at climbing ladders? Some of the old electrical apparatus made in Paris. Interesting, huh?
Very.
Well, today is Thursday. We got here Sunday afternoon, so it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday we've been having a roam around the French countryside looking for interesting things, but I think this is probably the last place we'll visit, so it's kind of time to wrap up this video on the Old Classic Car channel. I hope this slightly different video has proven to be of some interest. I've tried to keep it more or less transport in theme with the odd diversion here and there. What better place to round out the video than this incredible old concrete aircraft hangar, over 100 years old. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. There'll be plenty more videos on the channel coming on very soon. There's plenty already, several hundred, and there are many more planned, but I've just got one more stop to do before we leave the site completely. I need to head back to the shop. There we go, had to be done. What should we spy on the other side of the road but a very forlorn looking Rover P6? There can't be too many of those in France, surely. And that one's not moved in a very, very long time. What a great find that is. I haven't seen too many British cars this week. Heading down the hill, the main road into Cherbourg, we've spotted this great old Ford sign on the end of a building here. Whether the garage is still there or not, I don't know, but it looks, what, 1960s, something like that. So what Fords would we have here? Would they have sold the English type Fords, or would it have been the Ford Tauruses from Germany? I'm not quite sure, but either way, that's a great old survivor of a sign. I do like that a lot.